rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start, physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode 183 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. What we focus on is what we achieve. So lately, obviously, it's everyone's seeing that I'm working on losing the weight and changing my body up, going from powerlifting to bodybuilding. My goal for 2019, this episode is going to air when, Luke?
April 1st.
April 1st. Haha, April Fool's joke. April 1st. So right now we're kind of mid-March. So it's kind of pretty close where I'm at. So right now I'm down 60 pounds. And that's in 11 weeks. And a lot of people have been reaching out to me, asking me, what am I doing? What's the secret, Kurt? You've always been a fat bastard, and now you're losing all this weight. What's going on? And quite honestly, I talked about it a few episodes ago where it really was just I had to place a different goal on myself. I was getting too big, but I was always getting beat up from the powerlifting. But mentally, I was starting to lose some focus. I was starting to lose the fire. I'd been hitting the heavy benching for 2 years. My body was getting beat up. I was chasing that 600. I didn't quite get it. I got pretty close, but I didn't quite get it. And that's where I think where I was hanging on a little bit too long, is I really wanted to do it. But when the coaching side of me started to speak out and listen, and I started to listen, I knew that after 2 hard years of training and doing very well, another 6 months wasn't going to make a difference. In fact, it was probably going to start to become a deterrent where, not that I was risking injury, but I was just getting beat up and I was losing some of the zest for the workouts and that kind of thing. So especially when you want to go high end in anything, if we start to lose our focus, then things stop happening. It's just as simple as that. So 2019 was in my mind, obviously in 2018, we should always try to be thinking a little bit ahead of what we want to do. And I'd been thinking about the bodybuilding. I wanted to set that goal. It's always been a bucket list of mine to get up on a stage and do a bodybuilding show ever since I was a teenager. Put it off every decade for whatever reasons, mostly out of fear and intrepidation of worrying about, will I be able to do the food? Will I be able to handle the details that come with it? And I decided at 2019, the year I become 51, that I want to have a large goal every year. Business-wise, I want a large goal every year. Personal development-wise, I want a large goal every year. Relationship-wise, so that I push for these things. I feel that at 50 and turning 51, that, I'm halfway through and I don't want to waste any more time. So that being said, with the 2019 focus on the bodybuilding, I knew that I would have to get into some details and do some things that I wasn't comfortable doing, that I was a bit fearful of. Most importantly, just sitting there and tracking food and weighing and measuring and doing those things that I've known full well for 25 years of being in the fitness business. That's what has to happen. But I wasn't ready to make that commitment. I was afraid of it. I was intimidated by it. And quite honestly, I didn't quite have that confidence in myself to do it. So what I decided to do was make it such a massive goal that I'd have no choice but to go into it hard and get things done. And that was done by picking a bodybuilding date, picking a goal, and then telling the whole fucking world about it. Making that huge social contract, not just with myself, but with everybody. You can't go onto any of my social media channels now and not see a post about the current weight loss, the training, what's coming up, because that's what I need to do to back myself basically into a corner where I have no choice but to come out and get shit done. Now, that's how I'm wired. That's how I work. But I think the principles are somewhat the same for everybody. You just have to find your way of doing it. But really, like the title of this episode says, what we focus on is what we achieve. So a couple things that have to happen for that to work is once you decide what you're going to do, then you have to come up with a plan. And once you come up with a plan, Then you got to break it down to see what that's going to look like on a monthly basis, a weekly basis, a daily basis. So basically we reverse engineer, from that day on the stage, reverse engineer it 11 months earlier. So, my goal is to walk on stage at 245 pounds at 10% body fat. I started this December 15th at 397 pounds at about 34% body fat. So I've given myself 11 months to lose 150 pounds, build more muscle, get in better shape, and walk on stage and present it all for the world to see. So that's a huge goal. Slightly terrifying, but also being able to build on the confidence of acquiring my last couple goals of hitting that 550 bench, 565 bench, just missing a 575 on my way to 600. Those are big goals to do at 50. Those were big things to achieve. So obviously I build confidence with that. The business is growing, the brand is growing, I'm in a better place. I build on all those successes. It gives me motivation and it gives me empowerment to take on the next thing. But the big thing I've realized is that you have to have the next thing that you're working on. You have to have a reason to keep pulling you forward, especially on the days where you don't want to get out of bed, on the days where you feel nothing's working, on the days where you just want to curl up under the blanket and just not move. And we all have days like that. To think that we get to a point where those days never happen isn't true. And that's where the power of focus is so important. When we do that, we work on things like achieving the proper mindset. Because if we don't have the right mindset, if we don't fortify our mind every day, we're not going to be able to handle the battles that get in our way on our way to our goals. It's that simple. And then there's certain tools that you need to use. To make this work, you have to have certain things available to you that you use on a regular basis. So for specifically any goal, right, and moving forward anywhere in life, you've heard me say it a million times, I'm going to say it a million times more, a journal, a notebook, something that you write in every day to set your mind, to program your mind for what has to get done, for how you have to think, right? You have to set that point of view in your mind early in the day so that it's ready before anything hits it. Because if not, you're going to be susceptible to whatever's out there. The moment you step out that door, in fact, we don't even get out the door anymore. The moment you check those emails, and you could have, a whole bunch of crappy emails that mean nothing, 2 or 3 positive emails, and then you get that one negative email. Something about finances, something about business, something about personal relationships, something about work, something about business. And it can throw you if you're not in the right mindset. If before you face any of those things, you've already sat down, you spent some time and you've worked on your vision and you've worked on your affirmations and you've written down what your goals for the day are and you've looked at what your overall goal for the year is and you've listened to something, you've done some reading, you've prepared your mindset to be in a much stronger position. You're walking out into the world, you're addressing the world from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. So that mindset has to be set every day. Then you have to review your goals. What are your goals daily? What are your goals for the week? What are your goals for the month? What's your big goal that you're working on? Other tools that you're going to need besides your journal, especially in this case, and we're going to talk primarily about weight loss for the rest of this episode because that's really what I'm working on. That's what I'm being approached on all over now because of people are seeing the progress that I'm doing. So I'm getting messages left, right, and center. New clients, old clients, people I've known, people I haven't talked to in 20 years. They want to know how I'm doing it. They're seeking that secret. They're wondering did I crack the code? They don't want to believe that it's right there in front of them. They think it's something magical that's happened. So maybe magical in the way that, my mind shift and I switched to a goal and I've decided to go after it. And that's pretty powerful, but that's within everybody to do. But they're looking to see, the question, like, what are you eating to lose that weight? How many times a day are you working out? Because what they're doing is they're envisioning that I'm eating, rice cakes and drinking water and I'm laying there with no energy, or I'm working out 3 times a day and I'm doing these crazy cardio sessions and that's what they're envisioning because that's what they think is needed to do this. And it's not the case. But there are tools that you're going to need. And this is what the biggest thing when I work with clients is they're not focusing on the right things. The devil is in the details. You've heard that 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. It's 100% true. So people want to get on a weight loss program. They want to start a diet. They do that. So they buy the book, they buy the course, they join the program. They go through all that trouble because they think that's the solution. That's the secret. I'm going to learn something at this first session that I never knew and that no one else knows. And it's going to be easy. But what it comes down to is you have to do things you're not comfortable doing. You talk to anyone who has to lose weight, they don't like to look in the mirror. You talk to anyone who has to lose weight, right? They don't like getting on the scale. So they'll say things like, it's not with the scale, it's how I feel. It's not, it's not how, it's not how my clothes fit me, it's how I feel inside as a person. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's bullshit. If you're overweight and you want to lose weight, there's certain things that you have to do. It's plain and simple, right? You need a weight scale. You need to look in the mirror. You need to look at your progress. You need a food scale. You need measuring cups. You need a food journal. These are things, these are tools. When people ask what the magic is, that's the magic. You need to prep your food. You need to have your proteins ready, your carbs ready, your vegetables ready, your fats ready. And then you have to do meal prep off that. You have to turn around every day and put together your 3 to 5 meals depending on what you're following. And it doesn't matter if you're eating 3 meals or 5 meals or 6 meals. It comes down to how many calories you're taking in and how many calories you're burning off. That's all it comes down to. It doesn't matter if you eat first thing in the morning. It doesn't matter if you eat, your last meal is at, 10 minutes before you go to bed. Those things make very, very little difference. If you want to lose weight, you have to be in a deficit. That means you have less calories coming in than you're burning off. But for that to happen, you have to determine just how many calories that is. Then you got to break down into the macros. Well, how much protein will I be eating? How many grams of carbs will I be eating per day? How many grams of fat will I be eating a day? Then you have to break your meals down and figure all that out in there. You have to do some work. So the clients I work with now, that's what we figure out. We put together a meal plan with foods that they like. But then it's going to fall within these parameters. But then it comes down to weighing your food, measuring your food. It's the focus. It's doing these things. There's no magic thing. There's no thing people say, well, I don't like measuring food. I'm like, well, then you're not going to lose the weight. You're going to lose 5 pounds and then you're going to stall because you have no concept of what you're eating. I don't like to weigh on this. I don't like to get on the scale because it doesn't make me feel good. I'm like, okay, good. All it is telling you where you're at. So if you don't like where you're at, then make those changes. It's not the scale's fault. Hiding from the scale is not going to help you. Right? It's not what you weigh in a scale that makes you feel bad. It's the fact that you're not getting success is what makes you feel bad. It's the fact that you're overweight that you feel poorly physically. It's the fact that you have no energy. It's the fact that you're a slave to sugars. Those are the things that are making you feel bad. And then not being successful when you're trying to do something makes you feel worse. But we set ourselves up for failure by not committing to it. At the end of the day, these tools have to be followed. And when someone starts telling me, well, I don't like doing this, I don't like doing that, I'm like, that's fine. Then enjoy the results you have because the habits that you have now give you the body that you have now. The habits that you do now, the things that you do every day on a daily basis, gives you the mindset that you have now. It's our rituals. It's the things that we do. It's our routine. We are the example of what we do on a daily basis. How we are, how we feel, how we look is a result of the things that we do every day. The environment we're in, the things that we do, our rituals, what we do day to day, that's who we are. So if we don't like who we are when we look at ourselves, if we don't like who we are when we think about ourselves, then we have to make those changes. And those things don't happen without focusing. And without focus and without using tools, you're not going to make those changes. People are intimidated by the work. People are, worried about the change. They're afraid. They're afraid of change. Change isn't easy. But being unhappy, being physically and mentally, unhealthy, that's not easy either. It's just we've gotten used to it. We're comfortable in it. We're comfortable in our misery. So making those changes is definitely challenging at first. And that's why it's hard to do those things on your own. So having a coach, working on a program, those things definitely make a difference for sure because you have some accountability. I weigh in every day on that scale. But a lot of people will be like, oh my God, no, that would be too hard. Well, what's hard about it? It's actually telling you what you're doing. What it's doing is reinforcing the fact that I have to follow these steps every day. And if I follow them, great things happen. Like losing 61 pounds in 11 weeks. Guys, I'm not working out 2 hours a day. I'm working out. I do cardio on my cardio days, 25 minutes. On my weight days, I do about 35, 40 minutes of weights. Train once a day. Sometimes I do my cardio in the middle of the day. I do my weight training at night with a couple of guys. Right? I work hard when I do the weight training, huffing and puffing and sweating and that kind of stuff, pounding out a lot of reps for sure. But I'm not throwing up in the corner. I'm not so sore I can't move for 3 or 4 days. Because the working out is just a part. In fact, it's a small part of the weight loss. It's important for energy and strength and endurance and obviously shape of the muscles for bodybuilding. But it's the attention to details as far as the food goes, the tracking, the weighing, the measuring. I eat 4 meals a day. I know exactly what those 4 meals are. I can tell you the exact breakdown of every meal. How many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of fat. I can tell you exactly how much my chicken weighs. I can tell you exactly how much egg whites I eat at the same time. I can tell you exactly how much tuna I put in a meal. And I say exactly, I mean to the gram. Because I've learned I got to control those numbers. I got to figure those numbers out. So at the end of the day, by focusing on those tools and having that goal and chasing that thing and having a huge why, it's made a huge difference. But then go after it. And the success is when I'm losing weight every day and every week and every month. And you know what? It's 11 weeks. It's going to be 12 weeks at the end of this week coming up. It's a blur. It feels like just yesterday. It was December 15th, the day I decided in New York that was it. I'm not going to weigh 397 pounds anymore. That I was done with it. And it started that day. That day I just started eating better. I didn't have, I was in New York. I didn't have a way to measure things, stuff like that. But again, most of you listening know what your good foods are. So it was a great way to start. And then as I got more focused, the details came out. Again, the focus is where it's at. We achieve what we focus on. Now, it's only a small part of my day. The first week, it was a bigger thing because I had to get things lined up. I had to figure things out. I had to organize my kitchen, right? So there's a little bit of work, a little bit like I always like to say at the beginning of every project. The heavy lifting's at the beginning. But now that I'm organized and focused, it's easy. It really is. I'm not hungry. Sometimes I have trouble finishing my last meal. And now that there's momentum and success, it's hard not to feel really good. Physically, I feel really good. Mentally, I feel really good. There's a difference in how I walk. There's a difference in how I talk. I've always been a pretty positive guy, but what's happened now, it's 10xing because I've got success. I have energy. I feel good physically. I feel great mentally. I feel successful. And really, that's the whole point of all these goals. That's the whole point of what we should be striving for, is to move towards things we truly want, to get better at doing the things that we really want to do, and be happy with ourselves. It's about what we focus on. Guys, that's all I have to say on that for now. Head on over to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating, positive review. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Get the Power of Focus hoodie, which doesn't exist. But definitely browse and check everything we have. Use the code Silverback for 20% off. And as always, guys, work hard, motherfuckers. And I'm going to talk to you guys later.